Hello there, and welcome to the first installment of Not So Well Behaved Women, the Revolutionary War Style. The first women we're going to talk about today are the ones that we actually do know about, Abigail Adams and Mercy Otis Warren. Abigail is known for petitioning to her husband in what was known as a large number of letters back and forth with her husband while he was in Massachusetts hammering out the Constitution. And in one of those letters, she was able to nicely and sweetly and with all the love in her heart threaten her husband within an inch of his life. She said, "Remember the ladies, or they too would foment a revolution of their own." Mercy Otis Warren, for her part, was a fierce patriot and an amazing feat of playing both sides of the coin against the middle. Stated, "America stands armed with resolution and virtue, but she still recoils at the idea of drawing the sword against the nation from whence she derived her origin." Women often followed their husbands in the Continental Army, and these women that I'm going to mention now were known as camp followers. They often tended to the domestic side of war. Domestic side of war. They actually did a lot of their husband's washing. They cooked his meals. They would mend their clothes. They would provide medical help and actually just make them feel really, really good about themselves. Such was the case of Mary Ludwig Hayes, who was better known as Mary Pitcher, but she took it a step further. She earned her fame at Battle of Monmouth in 1778, when her husband actually took a bullet. And while she was bringing water to the soldiers to quench their thirst, she saw her husband get wounded and fall, and she ran to his side, took up his artillery, and started shooting. She was firing at oncoming British, and I guess she did a good job at it. Let me see. Let's talk about this one. Love her, Sybil Ludington. She was actually a teenager when she earned her claim to fame. Known as the female equivalent to Paul Revere, she could do everything that Paul Revere could do, but backwards and wearing heels. She rode twice as far as Revere in a driving rainstorm in April 1777, and she rode 40 miles that night through Putnam and Dutchess counties to rouse the local militia to fight a British force that had attacked nearby Danbury, Connecticut. The Daughters of the American Revolution honored her with a historic equestrian statue that is now in Carmel, New York. Now, of these women, my very favorite is this one, Deborah Sampson. She was from Uxbridge, Massachusetts. Her brother, Robert Shurtleff, had been called to war, but had been dead. And they didn't know it, apparently. And so she took her brother's calling, dressed as a man, took on his name, and enrolled in the Navy, enlisted in the Navy, or in the Army, in the Light Infantry Company of the 4th Massachusetts Regiment. She fought hard, earned a reputation for being one of the best soldiers. Now, she got injured in the spring of 1782. She took a bullet to the thigh and was injured in her forehead. She was taken to an infirmary where the doctor actually did patch up her forehead. And when she was like, "Look, over there," everybody turned their head and she took off out the back door because she didn't want anybody to discover her identity. So she took off, went to a nearby shed, armed with a penknife and a needle, and in a feat of complete badassery, removed the bullet from her own thigh. Not only that, but there was another bullet that was lodged in her thigh, and it was too deep for her to get, so she's like, "It's whatever." And she went back, strapped herself around and patched herself up, walked it off, and rejoined her regiment. Unfortunately, that bullet that was in her leg did cause her to have an infection later on, and that was when her secret was actually revealed. At that point, the doctor who patched her up and made her feel better um, recommended her for a honorable discharge, and she did receive that. But after the war was over, she had to continue fighting just so she could earn the pension that she had fought for almost 2 years. Many women of all stripes and from all backgrounds recognize the value of the American cause, even though it would take America about 130 more years to recognize their value by allowing them to vote. And so ends Not So Well-Behaved Women.